speaking. So I'm trying to hold up my end of the bargain here.
Make it till you make it. It's all good.
Oh, look, we have our first attendee who happens to be Chad.
Look at that. Perfect.
Yeah, he just texted me a few minutes ago if I have the link, but it should be in the group calendar.
All right. Anybody out there in YouTube land or otherwise dialed in? We're going to get started in just a couple of minutes. Good morning and happy Friday. We're at the top of the hour now. I'm just going to give everybody about 60 to 90 more seconds if there's any others trying to dial in, and then we will get going. All right, everybody. Well, it's another beautiful Albuquerque morning. It's a little chilly. I think we're going to get some snow this afternoon. So all kinds of fun. I've got my nice warm coffee right here with me. I am so pleased to welcome all of our attendees and participants. Today, I am Danielle Casey, the president and CEO of the Albuquerque Regional Economic Alliance. And today we are simply providing folks an update and a really fun dialogue to raise awareness and also create a little bit of training for our local employers on our jobs board that we've been hosting now for about a year and are continuing to try to bring more folks in for utilization so we can use it to continue to promote opportunities within our market, but also outside of our market to bring talent in. So actually a lot more on that here very shortly. Wanted to let everybody that's participating know that we are, first of all, actually live streaming on YouTube. So hopefully we've got somebody out there watching us and checking things out from that standpoint. We are also recording this program today. So if anybody sees this or watches it, and you know someone out there in the community or an employer or a partner or somebody else in your department or organization that should be learning about this, don't worry, it'll be available and it'll be online on our YouTube page in the future. So with that, I'm going to kick us off and get us going this morning. I am really excited to also thank all of our investors that make this possible. We could not do the work that we do without all of our private sector and public sector supporters that are there every day to make AREA what it is. We are a public-private partnership, but we are also a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And so we're really proud of that. We recently made that conversion to becoming a public charity. So again, all of the support that we receive from our public and private investors is critical in all of this work. So what I'm going to do really quickly is, well, thank you for this slide. This is a good reminder of what we do and how we support everyone in the community, really a single point of contact for site selection. But I like to also add that one of the things that AREA does, and really 50% of our time really or more, isn't just working on deals and trying to drive in employers on a daily basis, but it's also how are we making our market more competitive? And this jobs board is just another tool to help make our employers and our community more competitive in attracting the resources it needs so that we can be a wonderful operating environment for business. So with that, I want to very quickly hand it over to Daniel on our team. Daniel is our senior analyst. And anybody wondering on a day-to-day basis how to get on the jobs board and work with us, Daniel's going to be your point of contact. So he's going to make some introductions for us. Daniel.
Good morning, everyone. Glad to be able to speak here and having all of you tuning in for our TrueJob update. So I'm going to introduce Scott Gochi. He's a serial entrepreneur and the co-founder of TrueJob, a job board platform for communities. Scott's passion for hiring and job search came after graduating in 2009 into the middle of the Great Recession and finding existing job websites severely lacking. After teaching himself how to code, he started TrueJob to build a better job platform that helped three sides of the job market: the job seekers searching for jobs, the employers looking to hire, and the communities wanting to make the connections between job seekers and employers happen. So with that, I'm turning over to you, Scott. And yeah, go ahead, show us how to use this awesome new tool.
Sure, Daniel, thank you for that great introduction. As Daniel mentioned, my name is Scott Gochi. I'm one of the co-founders of TrueJob, the platform that helps power the Albuquerque Job Board. And so I'm going to give you a quick demo of how you as an employer, if you haven't already, can sign up for the ABQ Job Board and post jobs. So with that, let me just share my screen real quick. Hold on 1 second here. All right, Daniel, I'm going to interrupt your screen sharing here to kind of take over. So let's see. All right, I assume everyone can see my screen. Just give me a thumbs up if you can. All right, I see Daniel give me the thumbs up, so that's great. So here I am on abq.org/jobs, and this is where you can find the ABQ job board. And if you scroll down here, this is where you can see some of the job postings that employers have already listed for this job board too as well. And so if you want to kind of get in on this action and as an employer sign up for this, there's a big button here at the top that says click here to sign up as an employer. So you're going to click this button, and what it's going to show you is something roughly like this. It's going to have a sign up form on TrueJob.com, and it's going to say you're signing up for TrueJob through the Albuquerque Regional Economic Alliance job portal. You'll fill out your information, make sure that it's the employer type, the account type is employer, accept the terms, and you'll get an email where you have to confirm your account. And then afterwards, you'll be sent to a page that looks roughly like this. It'll say, are you interested in posting jobs to the Albuquerque Regional Economic Alliance portal? If you say yes, you'll submit your application to be part of the job portal. Now, you aren't quite done that yet. So what happens is after you've submitted to be a part of the ABQ job portal, you still need to be approved to as well. If you're not a good fit for the ABQ job board for one reason or another, you could potentially be rejected. But if you're in the Albuquerque area, your focus is kind of hiring in the area, you'll have a good chance of kind of getting in. And maybe Daniel can discuss later about the exact qualifications or excluding qualifications as to what can pull you into the job board or not. But once you sign up, you'll see under your portal section that you will have the Albuquerque Regional Economic Alliance portal. And then when you go to post jobs, you'll go up here, you'll click new job. And after you fill in all your information about the job posting, at the bottom, you'll see that the posting locations will include the Albuquerque Regional Economic Alliance job board. And so once you post, your job posting will be submitted also for approval to the job board. And after it's gotten approved, your job posting will then show up live on abq.org/jobs. Now, there's a whole bunch of other functionality that the ABQ job board kind of supports here too as well. But I'm going to keep it brief here and kind of end on that note. Those are the major pieces that you're going to need to have to do in order to join the ABQ job board. And then we'll go from there. So with that, I will pass it back to Daniel, unless there's other things that people want to see too as well. So Daniel, back to you.
Awesome. Well, while Daniel pulls up our lovely little illustrative slides here, I do want to add in one comment, and this would only be possible, this tool and this jobs board, because of, and it's been made possible by sponsorship from Bank of Albuquerque through the Albuquerque Forward Fund, which has been a supporting foundation for area for several years. So big thanks and a shout out to them. Great. All right. So we can head to the next slide. I've actually got a little fun conversation we're going to continue on here. And we have Joey Tejas. He's a recruiter at Torque. So we're going to talk to Joey really quickly, and then we're going to bring everybody back and also be joined by another speaker here in a few minutes for just kind of a really informal panel conversation. But Joey is just really an amazing individual. I mean, he's going to tell you a little bit about how much he loves this market and loves recruiting here, but he's got more than 10 years working in the human resources space. He's supported the Department of Defense, transportation, food distribution, and tech. And currently he is working for the amazing Torque Robotics, which has a really tremendous presence here in the market. He's the recruiter for fleet operations and their on-road test engineer team. He can tell you more about what Torque actually does, which is really also very, very 23rd century. But he was actually born and raised in Albuquerque. He's part of an organization that's helped pioneer this autonomous technology. And he's the first AV software company to actually partner directly with a truck manufacturer. So he's going to chat really quickly. Joey, if you can just tell us a little bit about your experience in particular using the True Job Board and just overall cooperation with AREA as a nonprofit.
Absolutely. Thank you, Danielle, and thank you, AREA, for including me as part of this this webinar. But yeah, so obviously my name is Joey Tejas, recruiter for Torque Robotics here in Albuquerque. And some of you may or may not know, but we are the leader, as Danielle mentioned, in the autonomous vehicle space, since 2007. And our goal here is to commercialize self-driving technology. How would we have ever thought that we would be in this space right now? But with Torque, I currently work in a hybrid role as a recruiter and the site HR support within the talent acquisition team and under people operations. You know, as Danielle mentioned, I do support the fleet operations team and on-road test engineers here in Albuquerque. We're headquartered in Blacksburg, Virginia, and in 2020 we opened up our autonomous test facility here in Albuquerque. I'm not sure how many of you have been part of a startup company, but resources, and in this case, strong partnerships to support those efforts are critical to help mitigate interruptions to business and what we all hope is a smooth transition to the area. And we've achieved that at Torque as we continue to grow. But it was through our partnership with AREA that helped support that. Some of the benefits that we have received from the AREA partnership include connecting us with the JTIP program, which has helped us quadruple our workforce since 2021. We've also been able to utilize the funds to help update and expand our facilities. using local vendors, which in turn, of course, does place money back into the local economy, which is awesome. Area has connected us with professionals who help locate our facility and grounds, which has been extremely helpful. We've been able to create brand awareness within the community. So participating in a webinar such as this one, and also some networking events, has allowed Torque's brand to grow within the area and with local business leaders. And as area does work to attract businesses to the greater Albuquerque area, it does generate a strong pipeline of applicants and an excitement to both local and, in our case, global talent. Another benefit we've received, of course, as we're all here to learn about, is the TrueJob application job board for applicants. TrueJob has been a great addition to our recruiting effort. The platform is very intuitive, informative. The ease of posting positions and the ability to retrieve job analytics and metrics make it a very useful tool. Being able to capture time to fill, posting timelines, etc., is great as we establish our hiring plans and our priorities for jobs. We currently at Torque have our own ATS, but we can leverage TrueJobs to direct applicants to our company website or the application process, which is really neat. And another benefit is the jobs are then promoted and shared through social media outlets. And can we all agree that free is awesome? I for sure definitely appreciate the additional tools we can use, especially when we're trying to reach our local talents. So for us, the supportive area has been instrumental in our growth and our ability to source talent in the greater New Mexico area. At Torque, our mission is saving lives, and our vision is to set the industry standard for self-driving trucks. You guys may have seen them on the highway. We believe that we can find and retain the talent in New Mexico, but also attract the talent to live in the area through the partnerships and support of area. So thanks again for including me and being able to share a quick testimonial of our experience so far.
Man, Joey, it's an honor to be a partner and have been able to work with you all, past, present, and future. I couldn't pay for a better testimonial than that. So absolutely love it. So hopefully that gets other folks excited. So I'm going to transition us a little bit now. And I do want to encourage anybody who's watching. We already got one question about how quickly we approve job postings. Really, Daniel is on it. If he gets that request, I mean, we like to make it far less than a 24-hour turnaround. Really, honestly, within hours of you all submitting something like that, it's pretty easy for us to go in and approve those. It's just a way for us to make sure that everything that's getting posted is from a legitimate local employer, which you all are. So we're going to move on to a little bit of a creative panel conversation. Please post any quick Q&As that you've got in there. We will get them answered. Would love to touch base on that. So with that, you all have heard from Scott, you've heard from Joey and know who they are. I want to welcome to the panel discussion Connor Gilbert to round out this group. Connor is a talent acquisition partner at Fidelity Investments, and he's got more than half a decade of experience directly in the staffing industry and 3 years with Fidelity. One of our, as you all know, Fidelity has a very significant footprint here in the greater Albuquerque market, is a big partner to area, and is hiring like crazy. Connor's actually located, are you in Boston today, Connor?
I am in Boston today.
All right.
I heard you guys talking about the nice weather and it's snowing here, so I got a little jealous, but
I know. Well, this is, and I think this speaks to, how significant our reach is through our partners and businesses. So he's in the Boston Fidelity office, but one of the main regions he's been supporting through his time with Fidelity is the Albuquerque market. So welcome, Connor. Thanks for joining us today. Thank you all. So I'm just going to kind of jump into a few questions to get things going, and we'll keep an eye on everything going on here. One quick question that we got from Jake is regarding whether we promote the jobs as well, and we absolutely do through social media. We will be actually ramping up our organic as well as our paid promotion of various roles and opportunities in our market here locally, but also, so just imagine we have the ability through LinkedIn and other tools to go online and identify people that look like they would be a good match for a certain job, then actually put targeted marketing in front of them. So yeah, the sky's the limit when you can laser focus that way. So yes, we absolutely do. And then we also promote the jobs in our local e-newsletters and other channels regularly. So with that, we've kind of heard a little bit from Joey and Scott, but I'm going to start with you, Connor. You want to just give a little bit more of an overview, anything else I missed or that you want to talk about, who you are and what you do in terms of your day-to-day?
Yeah, absolutely. So my title is a talent acquisition partner. I wear a few different hats. I do recruiting, I do full cycle recruiting, making sure people are onboarded and everything. Basically the entire process of getting someone interviewed and getting them started in their first day. So that's my responsibility for Fidelity. But I mean, I've worked in the Albuquerque area for almost 3 years now. And like the biggest thing that I didn't anticipate, which I should have, is the level of competition that exists in Albuquerque. So I've noticed a lot of similar companies, a lot of similar employees from similar companies that will like to bring one of their former colleagues to another place that they work with. So the referral network in Albuquerque, just the competition level is something I did not anticipate at first, but I think it's just a sign of a very, very healthy market.
That's awesome. You know, so for those watching, I've been in the market for a little over 2 years now. And I was a military kid, so I moved around, not my fault. Spent a lot of time in the greater Phoenix area. But one thing that I do find really unique and truly endearing about the greater Albuquerque market is it's a very relationship based type of market. I've had more people hit me up on Facebook here than ever in my life. So it's pretty cool that there is really that connection and really just an embracing of individuals in this community. So I'm gonna stick with you on this one, Connor, on a follow-up, and then would love to hear Joey's thoughts. When it comes to recruiting talent in this region, which you already touched on, what do you wish you knew from the start, from day one, that you've learned over the last few years that would maybe help anybody else listening today? You know, you mentioned that it's healthy and competitive, but what else do you wish you had known from day one?
So a big thing that I've realized too, and I didn't realize this not being in the Albuquerque area initially, is that like the brick and mortar scene of places like Fidelity, places like Amazon, I'm sure QRC Robotics, like those are places that once you've kind of get established and you know someone that works there, like you're going to want to apply there. So I think just going back of the building the relationships, I think it's a very word of mouth type of area. That's what I've learned for sure. And if you can give someone a good experience, especially for like the initial conversation, I mean, it starts as a recruiter. It starts that first initial email, that first initial call. If you give someone the time of day and you let them talk and let them tell you what they're looking for, like you're going to build that relationship very successfully. And I feel like Albuquerque is this place more than others. It's very important.
Awesome. Joey, I'd love you to take that one as well.
Yeah, I think as we transition, and in terms of like talent, as we transition to more of a remote environment, that has been somewhat of a challenge initially, but that's kind of like what people are looking for. How you're selling opportunities. A lot of people, I think the candidate experience or at least interest level does surround around work-life balance and flexibility. Remote opportunities and being able to, reach out to those folks and really pitch that as being part of your overall employee experience does help a lot. Being that I do support operations, we do have a lot of on-site opportunities, but through our engineering supporting teams and things like that, they're definitely looking for those types of roles.
Awesome. Well, so compared to the other markets you've worked in for all three of you, really, is there anything unique about our region that stands out to you compared to those others? So I think it's definitely a great question for Connor specifically. I know you cover several markets. What's different or unique other than the relationship-based pieces? Even if it's just that we're a mile high and nobody knows that was something I had to figure out.
I mean, I think a huge thing to go back to it as well is like just the type of company that it is. I believe like reputable firms like such as Fidelity and places like Amazon, like it's a little bit, I don't want to say easier in a way to attract talent, but like the relationship building side of it is just a massive part of it. That's really where I'm kind of, I guess, what I'm trying to think about a better way to say that. But yeah, I just think that the building relationships from the get-go is just the best way to go about that.
So I've got, so I want to, since you kind of touched on that, and we're talking about, changes in the workplace environment. Obviously, I don't know that we'll ever stop talking about the pandemic and how it's completely changed the world and our lives. So I'd love maybe, Joey, you could start off, and I want to pull Scott into this one as well in terms of his observations. We do have a question online about retention rates now versus before the pandemic. So in general, I'd love you guys to dive into how COVID has changed talent recruitment for you, any recommendations on reactions. But I am curious about retention rates as well, and how you're tackling that. So Joey, maybe if you could start, and we'll go to Connor and then Scott.
Absolutely. So COVID did actually change a lot of things, obviously, in terms of how we even interview people. Now we're kind of obviously in a virtual environment right now, and that's kind of what we did have to pivot to. Gratefully, we are actually moving back to our on-site interview process, which is fantastic. I love the engagement piece of being there face to face with people, but again, kind of to echo kind of what I stated before, is like people are looking more for remote opportunities. We kind of are in that we're experiencing that now. As far as retention, it's about building relationships. Really, it's about creating an environment where people feel as though it's inclusive, that they're valued, which is a big deal. So a lot of in terms of it's not just compensation anymore. It's about work-life balance and also other benefits in the role, right? So paid time off and such. So that does feed into a lot of the retention. Our retention is actually, we're doing very, very well. We are competitive from that standpoint, but it boils down to the people and engagement.
I have a feeling most of the answers are going to come back to that, because it's a really important aspect to it. So, and another thing too, I've noticed as well as a recruiter, I'm sure anyone else who's been in the recruiting space can speak to this as well, but it's one thing to hear from a recruiter and someone that works at the company about the career growth that comes on with this role, like the opportunities that come with this. But once they start talking to people that have actually been through it, I think it really changes their approach to it. So we are constantly saying, like, if it's your first day of training, like, get lunch with someone new, get lunch with a different person, like really expand that way, because people have been at home for almost 3 years now. So it's not the easiest to get back into that, but I think building that like relationships between not only employees and colleagues, but your own colleagues, I think it's a very important aspect too.
Yeah, kind of touched on this a little bit, but I'll double down on it too as well. And to Joey's point, work from home and remote work in general obviously exploded during COVID. And there's a lot of benefits, but we're also starting to see some of the drawbacks of it too as well. In other words, the benefits being that we have a larger reach than ever before to get applicants, both in our companies and eventually moving to the cities where the companies are at too as well. But then how do we build the culture in a remote environment? We're still trying to figure out, and we figured out a little bit of those things during the pandemic. But then now as people are starting to come back into the office, how do we re-engage people? How do we get them more involved? Building back those relationships that might have been suffering during COVID, when all you could do is kind of be on a Zoom call with somebody. Those are kind of the big things that we're now trying to figure out in the present day. And those are going to be the interesting challenges we're going to have going forward, at least in my mind. So those would be the things I'd add on to what others have mentioned.
Awesome. Well, Scott, since I've got you pulled up here, would love, you're working with a number of communities across the country with this really amazing jobs board tool, which is also, I'd like to just reiterate what we love about it is it was really designed for economic development entities in mind, and thinking about how we're leveraging talent attraction. So in terms of job postings, you're watching all these folks post things. Do you have any kind of tips or tricks on what people should include or exclude if they're posting on the jobs board? And are there any big strategic changes that you've seen in the way people are approaching using the tool?
Yeah, there's a couple of high-level things I mentioned off the cuff, and then some more detailed things I mentioned too as well. The high-level things are you always kind of need to start with your success criteria and your constraints. So in other words, when you're posting a job posting, are you time-bound? Do you need to hire this person by a certain date, or are you able to wait months for the right candidate? Are you resource-bound? Do you have salary constraints? Whereas even if the perfect candidate came in, if you have a set salary cap that you can't go past, maybe you can't hire them, right? And so you determine what looks like success for the role that you're trying to hire for, and that's kind of where you start. And then as you build your job description, you use that success criteria to write out these, kind of build out a persona of the person you want to hire. What do they look like? What kind of way do they speak? And you try to speak in that same language in order to attract them in a major way. One of the big things that's a little spicy too as well is that to include salary information in your job posting. People go back and forth on this, but laws are kind of being passed across the United States. California, Colorado, Washington, and New York have passed job ad transparency laws where they need to be included at least a range in the job description. And so you might as well get ahead of it and start to put them in the job ads today. So that way, not only will you be compliant with these states, you'll have a competitive advantage potentially against other job postings that don't do that. And you can attract talent in a good way to that end too as well. And so, the last thing I'd mention briefly would be mentioning whether the job posting or the job position can be remote, and remote to what extent, right? Remote, we think we can work kind of from anywhere in the United States or in the world and still be able to do the job. But there's a lot of different definitions of remote. Is it remote most of the time, 4 out of 5 days a week? Is it remote, but you have to be close to the base location? Being able to list not only is your job posting remote, but to what extent will put you again in an advantage where you're getting the candidates that are coming in and knowing exactly how they're going to interface with the company day to day, where they can live and things like that. So those would be some things that I mentioned off the cuff, Danielle, and I'll pass it on to you to pass it to the next person if they have thoughts too.
Yeah. Along that same vein, that's really interesting and good insights. Joey and then Connor, any follow-ups on that?
Not to just repeat everything he said, because he had a lot of really great points with that, but really just providing a brief overview of the company. Also providing links to any type of social media opportunities for them to view videos or whatnot about the company. And maybe depending upon the leveling and exactly the of the role, you'll want to list just the minimum requirements but you will also want to make sure that you list like some nice to have requirements as well. But benefits are a huge thing for people, as I mentioned before, highlighting exactly what separates you from it's a competitive industry, especially in the technology space. So highlighting, benefits, as Scott had mentioned, remote work, things like that are very, very critical. Transparency is huge. Being able as a recruiter to be able to speak to kind of what a day in the life of a software engineer is or something like that. I may not know the details of what that is, but high level, kind of what the expectations might be is also very, very good thing to add in as well. That's it for me, but I'll pass it back to you.
Great. We're getting a couple of really great live questions. So we had a really, well, first of all, I want to give a shout out. So this is, if you all are wondering how quickly we can respond and that we track this job board, I'm also looking at my email on my phone, and I want to give a shout out to Submaterial. They just signed up for the job board while we're on this webinar today. So very, very cool. We'll get you going and operating here very, very quickly. We have a question on, are there any suggestions from the panel on how to compete in Albuquerque with other remote jobs? So remote employers out of New York and California that have higher salary level postings. This is a tough question. I'm hoping maybe again, maybe the panelists have some ideas or examples or creative strategies that you've maybe employed, because that can be a challenge with the way the world has changed from that standpoint.
Well, I can speak to, because with Fidelity being, we have sites across the country here, and like the job that I am working on right now, it is a customer service oriented job with a focus in 401k. It pays different rates across the areas. So what we do is we don't have a really good way to, because you can apply to any job you want to at Fidelity. It's not, you can break it down by location or job title, but you essentially could apply to any job you wanted to at the company. what we will do is if we see someone that has posted or applied to it, we will personally call them. We'll just make sure we put the effort into say, hey, I believe you may have applied to the wrong job, because you never know, they may be moving to the area and that may be they haven't updated their resume or something like that, but we'll just make sure we get them in touch with the right person and things like that. Not maybe the best way to kind of combat that, but with our job postings being open to everyone, it's a little bit more of a challenge to do that.
Any thoughts on that, Joey? Or any creative strategies when we're competing with companies that are hiring remote workers in our market?
You know, it is tough, Danielle, to your point. That is a tough question, and it is a challenge. You know, but competing, if I'm understanding the question correctly, they're looking at a remote opportunity, but for relocation to the Albuquerque area and what kind of separates us from other locations. Is that right?
I think the question was related to companies in other states hiring Albuquerque or Albuquerque region residents as remote workers, but being able to pay more. So how do we get our people as opposed to let them? And I think this is it's yeah, again, there's an exchange going on everywhere, right? I mean, but I think if our salary levels are different than some of those other folks, that it seems like if they're fully remote and they're able to offer extremely competitive dollars, that they do have an edge. But one of the things that you've talked about a lot, and Connor has as well, and I think we've seen in our community, it's really building that local brand in a big way and creating those relationships and kind of that family environment at the company. I know Torque has done really well with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of what I was leaning at, not to repeat myself, but that's exactly right. You know, and it's how you treat people, I think, as well. You know, that there's a high value of that, of course. But it is competitive. So what are you going to be able to provide to them, again, that you can't provide to others? And it's again, providing them in an environment that they really enjoy. Like, I can see myself here. I can see myself growing here. What does that progression look like? You know, and just being, again, transparent with their opportunity as much as you possibly can. But yeah, those are going to be, they're going to have your fair share of those challenges for sure. I don't know if you had anything else to add to Scott. I saw you take off your mute there.
The main thing I was going to add on would be, you know, one of the most famous sales techniques that salesmen ask in interviews is sell me this pen. And a lot of people talk about, you know, hey, it's a great pen. It can write super well. You know, the ink flows really well. But most people say those questions don't necessarily work if somebody doesn't need a pen, right? And so if you have a job where the person's success criteria is getting the largest salary, you're probably always going to lose to them, right? In other words, because like if you can't offer it, you can't win. So you got to focus on the areas where you can win, right? You got to look for people that are looking for, in this case, a pen, but in this analogy, looking for maybe the Albuquerque area specifically, or looking for the experience that the company offers, or the culture that the company offers, or the things that are able to be acquired via the job, you know, more advancement in your career or things like that. And that's how you can win. But if people are mainly just looking at salary, if you can't afford it, you're probably going to lose that, you know, 10 out of 10 times. So focus on your strengths and look for candidates that care about those strengths, and that's how you win.
I love it. That's really great advice. So I'm gonna I'd love for you guys to go. Let's go, Joey, Connor, and then Scott. You can close it out. Put your, you know, remember put your magic thinking cap on. Are there any predictions or any big hiring or recruiting trends that you think are going to be popping up in 2023, or that might be the new big fad or something else going on? So, you know, to kind of give me any predictions or thoughts, or what you think we're going to see in the next year, and then we can come back in a year and see if you were right.
I don't have any wild guesses or anything like that, Danielle, but I can tell you in terms of market trends, we do see in tech anyway that there's been a saturation of candidates, you know, due to some of our competitors, you know, some layoffs that you guys have seen through social media and things like that. So it's definitely gonna be more challenging to stand out. So even more so, being intentional on your communication efforts through any social media outlets that you have. But we may see that here continue as we started out this year, unfortunately, with that going on. So the hope is that we have a rebound to that. So the bounce back will be significant. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, we are unfortunately seeing that trend right now as we're going through the new year.
Connor, what do you think?
So I think the most obvious thing is the transition back into the office. I think that's going to be, I mean, it's not going to be an easy transition for everyone, but it's going to happen for sure. And I think again, I don't make the calls with Fidelity about going back to the office, but if you can just talk to someone about it and just be real with them. And again, I know we've mentioned it 100 times, but transparency, building the relationships, that's the stuff that's going to ease someone from being anxious about that kind of stuff. Like saying, hey, I've been in the office a week. It's not that bad. You get to meet people, you get to do all these things. That's, I think, where I think the personal relationship building is going to be a huge part of 2023.
Cool.
Sure.
Scott, any closing thoughts on that?
Being more of a techie myself, I'll mention a few tech things that I find very intriguing, especially for both the job seekers and the employers. One is the kind of rise in AI. A lot of HR professionals are now using tools like ChatGPT to generate job postings. And on the flip side, job seekers are generating their cover letters as well using ChatGPT to do the opposite. And so kind of seeing how that evolves over the course of 2023, I think will be super interesting. And then the second thing I'd say would be, we're getting Gen Z starting to get into the job market now. And with this new generation comes changes in generational technology. So for example, we all know social media is important, but are we on the social media or websites that Gen Z is on today? For example, if you have a company, does your company have a company TikTok and is it posting to it? These are the ways that Gen Z will be able to engage with their company even before they get to the hiring process. And if they can't find you, they won't see you and they won't think about you when it comes to being, when they come to make their decision as to where they want to join as a company after they graduate college or afterwards. So I think making sure that you're on the latest trends of where Gen Z is posting, like TikTok, will make sure that your company is able to hire them when they get into the workforce.
Wow. Well, unbelievably insightful. I learned a lot. That last little bit right there was very intriguing from somebody who I don't even know if I could manage working through the TikTok app or really do it right. So I'll rely on the more innovative generations to help me there. So, well, I want to thank all of you. I have a couple other things that we want to close with and share with everybody, but just really appreciate all of your comments and insights and your partnerships today. So very, very helpful. Next, Daniel is going to show, I'm really excited. So not just the jobs board, we are always thinking about how we can continue to create and deploy awesome tools to help our existing employers as well as our future employers and growing employers in the market. And so we are kind of in a beta phase. We will be launching this pretty robustly in the very near future, but we have stood up a microsite called live.abq.org. And anybody watching, you can either just scan that with your phone right now, or you could just type in live.abq.org to any browser. And think of this site as, this is not a tourism promotion site. We have really, really amazing partners in the state and the region that do a great job of promoting our activities and events and really getting people to come visit Greater Albuquerque and New Mexico. But what's on this site is information about actually living and working in the market. So we have our jobs board, of course, linked to on this. We also have a really, really fun online interactive tool with this site where people can go in and take a little quiz where there we go, housing and neighborhoods, and take a little quiz that's going to direct them to kind of an ideal neighborhood for their lifestyle. So are they going to want to bike to work or commute to work? Do they want larger acreage property, or are they thinking a little bit more about something in an urban environment? And what we love about this is it really, really demonstrates to people that you can live in the greater Albuquerque market, whether you're a remote worker, fully part-time remote worker, or going into the office every day. Our team at Area is in the office 3 days a week and often 5 as needed, but we have built in a little bit of flexibility, which is great. So they can use these tools. We are also continuing to add information about our local communities on this site. There's even a cost of living indicator comparison tool. So someone can go on there and put in what their salary is in the market they're in and see what they would need to have the same quality of life in terms of cost of living in the greater Albuquerque market. So that's a really fun one to play with. So I invite and encourage everyone to check this out. We will continue to add information. But again, think of it as a really wonderful go-to resource. Ideally, in a perfect world, what I would love this to be is something that all of our employers in the region are linking to as a resource and a tool if you're talking to anyone that's thinking about coming into the market and living and working here, that they can go to this as a one-stop shop. And it's built as a regional tool. So we're thinking about the entire 4-county area because, as you all I'm sure know and can attest to, no employer in greater Albuquerque is going to say, oh my goodness, you live in Rio Rancho, I'm not going to hire you because I'm in Albuquerque, or you're in Los Lunas and I'm not going to hire you for a location in the region. Economies are regional, labor sheds are regional, so we want to make sure that we are all working together and really thinking about the greater regional market. So with that, I do want to give one more big plug. I think we've got some upcoming events to talk about. Please think about attending these. On March 16, we'll have a location to be announced, but we are going to have a quarterly update and networking event. And what we're going to be talking about at this event is the case for downtown. We're going to be bringing in some national speakers to talk about really cool and creative things that they've done. Really, our premise for this is that a strong, healthy urban core in the city of Albuquerque matters to everyone in our entire region and is a really significant lifestyle and attraction tool for us. When we think about all those generations, they want to see and do cool things and have a vibrant downtown market. And so Area is excited about that. Oh, and Sean has just posted where you can register for that event. So we're really excited about that because we want to just raise that awareness and also think about creative visionary ideas that the business community can drive forward. We have to always remember that the city's there to help us, but we have to also be leaders in positive change and activity. And then we also have a Building a Regional Economy event in April. So this is going to be another really wonderful conversation. We do these a couple times a year and they are completely free for anybody that wants to come in, and you'll get a deeper dive update on what Area is up to, economic trends that we're seeing, and then we will address a specific topic of interest. I want to give one more plug then before we, as we close. I want to give a plug for Beth Waldrop on our team. Beth is our business retention and expansion, our BR&E manager, and her entire goal in life is to visit with and meet with as many companies in our region as possible to gain a really deep understanding of their challenges, potential obstacles to growth, or if they're growing and they're seeing a lot of success, how do we help facilitate that growth? Just as Joey mentioned, we've assisted with things like job training, incentive dollars, helping businesses find space in the region, and even just promoting them and connecting them with other partners that they may not otherwise know in the market that we can help facilitate. So just wanted to give her a plug. If you all have not talked to her, she may be reaching out to you. We'll be looking at our registrant list on this. All right. With that, we have a big call to action for everybody. Use the True Jobs board. Please get your jobs posted on there. Okay, great. There, Beth just posted her email address, so you can reach her that way for any assistance. If anything you need, even if we are not the right organization, we are a connector and we will help you get there. So please go to visit live.abq.org. You can find our jobs board there. You can also find it at abq.org. And if you want to check out our resources and publications, we do quarterly reporting. We share a lot of information on our website. So please go to abq.org, look at our publications, also look at our events and programs page. That's where you can keep track of what we're doing, what we're up to, and hopefully come to another program in the future. And I just noticed that I want to give a shout out to Rocky Cruz at Tricor for thanking our panelists today. So thank you all for attending. Thank you all for participating and being online today. Again, we will be posting this recording online soon as well. And if you have any feedback or any other thoughts on future programs that you'd like to hear, we'd be happy to entertain that. So with that though, if you're in Albuquerque, stay warm. Again, we may have a little bit of snow later on today, but have a wonderful weekend, and thanks again.